Hey everybody, this is Eno and welcome to the Dynamic Prepper. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a different video than I normally do. I'm going to do a question and answer video. I get asked a lot of questions, not only in the comment sections of videos, which I also always try to, to comment on people's questions and things like that, and also the YouTube community itself. You guys do a great job of commenting on each other's questions and answering things for other people. So I typically don't, have to go through and answer everybody's question, but I try to answer as many as I can. And I also get asked a lot of questions through the Facebook page, and people also will contact me through the website, by email or something like that. And please feel free, if you have any questions or would like to contact me, please feel free to do so. You can do so here on YouTube. You can contact me through Facebook. That works really well. And of course, you can contact me directly. My email is eno@dynamicprepper.com. So I pulled out a handful. I'm not going to do too many. I don't want it to be a really long video, but a handful of good questions that have been asked of me over the last couple of weeks that I thought I would address here in the context of a video. And I plan on doing maybe one of these videos every month. Take a few of the more recent questions and bring them out for everyone to enjoy. The problem with somebody asking me a question privately, directly, and then me answering it privately, directly is nobody else gets to share in that exchange. So doing it in this format takes some of the better questions I've been asked and sort of put them out there for public consumption, which I think is a good thing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start right down the list. I got about a half dozen questions here that I'll go through just relatively well, as quick as I can. So I'm not going to point out exactly the person that asked these questions. We'll do this anonymously just for time and whatnot. If you ask this question, you know who you are. So the first question came off of the top 10 bug out bag mistakes video that I did a little while ago. And this question is, I'm having problems thinking of realistic situations where bugging out would be a more viable option over bugging in. Could you please explain your philosophy on this? Excellent question. My view on this is bugging in should be your primary goal. As a prepper, that is your primary goal. You've spent all this time accumulating skills and resources in your home to survive and to maintain a certain quality of life. The last thing you want to do is, at the drop of a hat, leave it all behind. But within that context, a good bug out bag and a good bug out plan should be a foundational aspect of your prepping philosophy for two main reasons. The first is you might not be at home when something happens. So if there is a natural disaster, or for instance like a terrorist attack or something like that in your area, and you are not at home, you're at work, you're at school, you're running errands, you're on a trip, getting home to where all your resources are becomes so you can bug in, becomes a primary concern. People call that a get home bag. I don't really make the distinction too much. A 72-hour survival bag, you can call it whatever you want. But getting home becomes your number one priority at that point in time. And the philosophy behind that is pretty much the same as far as surviving. You might not be able to just turn around and drive home. That might be a prolonged situation that you have to get home by God forbid, you got to walk home, and it might take a long time, or it might take a while, it might take a day or two. It depends on what your situation is, but it's a situation that you want to be prepared for. So keeping a good bag, having it with you all the time, being able to deal with the situation that happens when you're not at home is a primary concern also. The second thing is, if you are in a situation which is regional in nature, okay, like a natural disaster or a terrorist attack in your area, that causes your current place of residence to become unlivable, either through destruction or just through you can't be there anymore, it's not safe for you and your family, having to move yourself to an area outside the area or region of effect to an area that is not affected by whatever that thing is, a natural disaster, whatever. So getting yourself from a unsafe place or an unlivable place to some place that is safe and livable, that would be number two. So I'm not saying that is high on your list of risks, but it is something that you want to plan for. So bugging in is your primary concern, but you have to understand the fact that there sometimes are things that might cause you to have to leave your home for a variety of different reasons. So I think that should be a part of your prepping philosophy also. So I hope that answered your question. Thanks a lot. That was a great one. Number two, this was a question asked in the DIY alcohol stoves video that I did a couple weeks ago, and that question is, what alcohol do you use for your alcohol stoves? I use almost exclusively denatured alcohol. I think it's the most reliable and most cleanest burning. Is that a good way? The cleanest burning and most reliable, there we go, fuel available. I like it. It's inexpensive, it's not hard to get, it's very readily available. But the beauty of an alcohol stove is you can burn a lot of different types of alcohol in it. Wood alcohol, grain alcohol, so on and so forth, rubbing alcohol, the list goes on. Some alcohols burn a lot dirtier than others. Some alcohols burn less efficiently than others. Some alcohols have toxic byproducts if you burn them. So you have to take all that into consideration, but they will work. And so, I personally use denatured alcohol. It is my alcohol of choice. So I just buy it in big cans from the hardware store. Number three, this is actually not from a video. This is actually from a Facebook page and subsequent conversation that I got involved in on Facebook. So stuff happens on the Facebook page. It doesn't always, is not always covered in videos on the channel too. So it behooves people to check that out every once in a while. Why did you choose to train in traditional martial art like Hapkido versus Krav Maga or other modern self-defense systems? Excellent question. I haven't really addressed this in a video, but I do train in Hapkido. I've been a martial artist for a long time, and Hapkido is the form of martial art that I chose to train in. I originally trained in Taekwondo and switched to Hapkido a good number of years ago and continue to train in both Hapkido and combat Hapkido. So this kind of is beating around a question that I get asked a lot too, which is, what is the best martial art to train in for self-defense? I always tell people the same thing when I talk about martial arts. The best martial art to train in is the one that you like. If you like it, you're going to enjoy doing it, you're going to want to do it, you're going to practice more, you're going to show up at the dojo more, you're going to get better, faster, you're going to become more competent at it because it's something you enjoy doing, and you're going to become good at it, and it's going to be effective. If you don't like it, a lot of those things aren't going to happen. So training in something that you enjoy training in is better than training into something that you might think is better for whatever reason, but you may not enjoy doing as much. So it's important, if you really want to train in karate, then train in karate. If you really want to train in taekwondo, train in taekwondo. The important part is not so much the system that you learn, but the context of why you're learning or what you're learning. So the context is self-defense. So if your context is, I want to learn martial arts or a fighting system for self-defense and self-protection, then you want to make sure that you go to a school that's teaching self-defense and self-protection. Don't go to a school that's teaching Olympic-style taekwondo or Olympic-style judo for sport competition and expect to get adequate training in self-defense. The contexts are different. That's not saying anything bad against Olympic taekwondo schools or anything bad against Olympic or sport competition, judo or MMA or anything else, all the other sport competition martial arts that are out there. That's not saying anything bad about those. They're just training in a different context. That context is totally legit. It's just not the context that you're looking for. So a lot of people find themselves, especially I find this with experienced martial artists, they might train for years in karate or taekwondo or judo, but realize eventually that they're not getting adequate self-defense training. They're training in sport competition style of these arts. And so they might move to systems like Krav Maga or combat Hapkido or some sort of self-defense system in order to fulfill that self-defense aspect that's lacking from their martial arts training. That's perfectly viable. In fact, I know a guy who teaches in a Krav Maga school, and he says that former or experienced martial arts make some of the best Krav students because of they control their body, they have the discipline to train, they are aware of their movements, they have beautiful form and excellent execution, and they're willing to put in the time. Whereas some people, who might not have a martial arts background, may not have the body control and the flexibility and movement and range of motion is something that somebody who's been training in the martial arts for years has. So martial artists actually make very good fighting system students, like Krav or others, if they want to go into a system like that. I would choose a good self-defense school as my deciding factor rather than a particular style. So, you want to make sure when you're going around and looking, if you're interested in getting involved in self-defense or a martial art, you want to make sure that you're going to a school that's teaching self-defense in whatever art they're teaching. Doesn't matter if it's karate or Hapkido or Krav Maga or whatever the system might be. You want to make sure that they understand that you're there to learn self-defense and self-protection, and that they're teaching you in that context. They're not teaching you in another context, because it's not going to go across. There are some, the good punch is a good punch, a good kick is a good kick. There are some universals, but if you're training to fight in the ring, that's not the same as training to fight for self-defense and self-protection. They're very different contexts. So you want to make sure you get that context right. To specifically answer the question, the reason why I train in Hapkido is because I like what Hapkido brings. It's a very diverse, very eclectic martial art, meaning it borrows. We don't use the term mixed martial art anymore, because mixed martial art actually kind of is a thing on itself now. Mixed martial art is almost its own martial art these days. But Hapkido, so we call others that kind of draw from a lot of different types of martial arts. We call them eclectic martial arts. So Hapkido is one of those. There's aspects of judo, aspects of taekwondo, aspects of karate, aspects of kung fu. There, a lot of different things. Jiu-jitsu, all the groundwork and locks come from jiu-jitsu. All the throwing comes from judo. A lot of the kicks are influenced by karate and taekwondo, punching and things like that. So they're drawing from a lot of different things. Even though Hapkido is considered to be a traditional martial art, it's not that old. It's less than 100 years old. The earliest Hapkido students are probably the late 30s, and it really didn't get going until post-World War II, and it didn't really get going, sort of internationally until the 1960s. So it's not really that old of a martial art. So sometimes we get, when we say, a traditional martial art, we get this opinion that it's, ancient art of fighting, that from the samurai days or something like that. Not all traditional martial arts are actually that old. So, and Hapkido is one of them. It's actually relatively new art. That's why I like it. It's such a diverse art that trains, and especially when you look specifically at combat Hapkido, that is specifically designed for self-defense. This is a very effective system, and I'll put it up there with Krav Maga or anything else. Again, if you're interested in Krav, it's a great self-defense system. You just want to make sure that you train at a good school with somebody who knows what they're doing, with a good background. Do your research, attend classes without getting involved in a contract, so you can decide if it's something that's best for you. You want to enjoy it, you want to love it. That's what's going to make you good at it. And just make sure that you're getting self-defense training, not sport training, okay? So, good question. I should make more videos on that stuff. I like talking about it, even though I don't here on the videos. Number 4. Could you do, this was a comment made on the FBI moving to 9mm video that I did a couple years ago. Question was, could you do a video comparing the larger, faster rounds like 357 and 44 Magnum? Yes, that is on my list of things to do. I do want to do that. I don't have sort of complete enough research resources to actually launch a video just yet. I do need to do a little bit more work on it, but it's mostly done and it's on my list of things to do, and I do have some opinions I'd like to share about that too, kind of in that same sort of format of, in-depthly talking about calibers of gun. So definitely on the list, so thanks for asking. Number 5, what do you think of RIP ammo? RIP ammo stands for Radically Invasive Projectile Ammo. Basically, it's an ammunition that is specifically designed to fragment a lot. If you don't know what it is, Google RIP ammo and you can find pictures of it and what it is. I don't like it. I've never used it. I don't recommend it. I think even though there are studies that, it can reach FBI standards for penetration, it's just not consistent enough for me. And it lacks penetration. Anything that's built specifically for fragmentation is typically going to lack penetration. When you're talking about an effective round in really any caliber, what you're looking for is shot placement. So you want accurate, repeatable, and quick, you know, being able to accurately and quickly put rounds on target. So the quicker and more accurate you can put those rounds on target, that's what you're really looking for in a self-defense weapon and a self-defense round, given an adequate caliber. So, you know, rip ammo is, the problem with there is it's going to lack that penetration. You want that penetration. What you're really going for here is you're not looking to cause the most amount of wounding. That's what a lot of people tend to confuse. You're not looking at causing a bunch of sort of extemporaneous wounding. What you're looking for is be able to put rounds on target and hit the vital organs and central nervous system in order to incapacitate your enemy quickly. That's what you're looking for. So you want to be able to hit heart, lungs, central nervous system, brain. These are the areas that you want to be able to hit and damage and knock your target out relatively quickly or immediately. So rip ammo is just not going to have, for me, dependable enough penetration to be able to go through the bones and thicker cartilage and things like that of the torso and head and things like that you're going to need to be able to get reliable penetration. So not saying that it can't penetrate, but again, it's reliable penetration. So, so rip ammo, don't recommend it. Other people will disagree with me on that. That's fine. I have no problem with that. Just not my cup of tea. So, number 6, this is actually a huge question, and one that I actually have been asked numerous times, and I've always kind of been avoiding answering it because it's kind of a big question. But this was asked on the Top 10 Bug Out Bag Mistakes video. Could you address bringing a pet dog on a bug out? That's a big one. There's so many variables involved in that. First of all, I guess speaking generally, and I understand what you're getting at. I mean, I have a dog too, and he's as much a member of the family as anybody else. And you know, the last thing I would want to do is leave my dog behind if something happened. But you know, realistically, you know, if a dog is not properly trained and to do a bug out with you, it would probably be more of a hindrance as far as their behavior and also having to take the extra food and water to care for the dog in addition to yourself or your family. So it depends on the breed. There's some breeds I think that would probably be a great addition to a bug out. There are some breeds that I think would be a hindrance to a bug out. So that's kind of a variable. The level of training your dog has, it's something, if you want to bring your dog on a bug out, I'm not going to tell you can't do it, but I think it would be intelligent for you to train your dog to be able to do those kinds of things with you. If you want them to do it, you have to expose them to it, you have to get them used to it. If your dog gets spooked, he's just going to run away. So you don't want that to happen. But, you know, having said that, dogs have, animals in general, have an innate sense of survival. Given the right environment, or at least an environment lacking in something that would directly kill them, they will not starve themselves to death on purpose. They will not kill themselves. They have an innate sense of survival. And there's all these stories out there of dogs that survive these just wacky situations that it just amaze people. There are, you know, a couple of them that I've heard over the last few years. You know, is that famous one that came out a few years ago. I think that I was in Hawaii or California, so I don't remember exactly where it was, but a son was swimming in the, or a dog was playing in the water with the son or something like, anyway, undercurrent came and dragged both the dog and the son out into the surf. The dad jumped in to save the son. The dad got swept out and started struggling. Then the mother and the teenage daughter, I think, something like that, jumped in to save the son and the father, and they got swept out, leaving a young girl on the shore, who obviously didn't jump in because she was too young. And the family wound up all drowning to death, except for the dog, who paddled around and around and around until eventually it got kind of washed up on a little outcropping, and a surfer that was in the area happened to see it and picked it up and put it on a surfboard and paddled it back in. And you had this poor girl and this dog who lost their family. Dogs just having animals in general just having an innate sense of survival, and you'd be surprised what they can survive. I just read an article the other day about a horrific, deadly car accident where everybody in the car died except for the passenger, who was critically injured and in a coma. The dog that was in the car with them walked away from the accident. Everybody else was, either severely wounded or killed. So it was, dogs just have a way of surviving. So I wouldn't necessarily, be too concerned with the well-being of your dog. As long as it's the right kind of breed and it's properly trained, I don't see any reason why you couldn't bring it with you on a bug out. So again, to each his own. You got to make those decisions for yourself. That's my opinion on it. So there's a couple of questions, really good. These are my opinions. I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. They're just my opinions and my experience. So if you have any questions and want my take on it, by all means, go ahead and ask them here. Contact me on Facebook. You can email me directly. I'll put all those links and information in the description, and I hope to hear from you. We'll do another Q&A next month. Take it easy.